This is Charlie Parsons for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN. Big dog!
Charlie!
How are we, bro?
I am awesome.
Good.
Amazing.
You seem awesome. We were just having a little natter off camera. For a man who flew in on Wednesday, I can't even imagine. You don't even have eye bags. I mean, I'd have eye bags to oblivion. I'd be complaining about being jet lagged every 5 seconds. You're bringing the right energy.
You know what it is? George and I, it took us about 28 hours to get here to London from New Zealand. But we're very happy to be here and to be a part of this big event. And we're looking forward to the fights on Saturday. George has Dubois winning and I got Joshua winning. Ooh. So we will see who's the right man.
We will see who's the right man. Just before we start discussing and talking about everything come Saturday night, you must really look at these two guys and just be chomping at the bit, almost thinking, like, I just wish I was in there with them at the minute.
Being here, like, I wish I was fighting Joshua or Dubois, or even Usyk. Like, I want to fight the guys above me and the guys who are ranked highly. You know, but at the moment, it's a waiting game. George and I have been working in New Zealand. Once we have something locked in, we'll link up with Andy Lee, but we're just waiting patiently. The time will come when we're, you know, I stand here now and I'm the best in the world.
I think a lot of people have you up there right now as the best in the world. Before we go, I suppose, into Joshua-Dubois itself, what you've done over the course of the last 2 years has been absolutely remarkable in terms of, there were people at times who just completely wrote you off after the Joe Joyce defeat. You now sit in a position where a lot of people favour you going into some of the biggest fights in the division. What a crazy turnaround for you, Joe.
Boxing is one of them sports where you can get a surprise, you know. Like after my fight with Joe Joyce and after my fight with Jack Massey, I was still looking for something. And I always had great work of Andy Lee and then linked up with George Lockhart, and us three together, like, we are the best team in the world. And that's the biggest change, is knowing what I'm doing, balance, resting when I need to rest, training hard, and I'm having a proper plan in place for every camp and for every fight. Did
you ever doubt yourself, Joe?
Never. No. Never ever. I knew I could do great things in boxing. I just needed the right team. I'm not saying my team before was great and I achieved being world champion with Kevin Barry, but this new team that I have now, I feel like everything's coming together nicely, and I feel like now, as a fighter, I've only just begun.
Saturday night, you are no stranger when it comes to the big occasion, and you have seen what a UK stadium singing Anthony Joshua's name is like. As much as Daniel Dubois is the Brit, let's be real, 99.9% of people in there on Wembley Stadium are going to be pro AJ, right? Does that affect someone like Daniel Dubois? Because he doesn't really seem asked by anything.
Listen, he's gained a lot of confidence from his last 2 fights, Big Baby Miller and Filip Hrgovic, and he's saying a lot more now this week. But it's quite different when you walk, like we're staying at the hotel not far from the stadium, and when you're walking around, there's posters of AJ everywhere, and there's nothing of Dubois.
And that's even away from this fight itself, right? It's like Under Armour advertisements and stuff like that. The guy's a commercial beast over here.
He is, and he's the name. But Dubois has a lot to prove, and Dubois is the IBF champion, and we want to see if he can defend his belt.
It won't matter come Saturday night, because whoever wins gets the IBF title. In your opinion, is Daniel Dubois a legitimate world champion?
Well, they've given him the championship of the world, the IBF world title. For me, though, it's better to win the championship in the ring, fighting against someone, but he was elevated to being champion of the world. It's not his fault that they elevated him, it's just how it is. But this fight will truly cement if he is a world champion or not.
How do you envision this fight going? A lot of people saying that this could well be the best version of Anthony Joshua we've ever seen. There was a bit of a period he went through where I think he wanted to master the art of being a boxer as such. AJ's always been very good at stepping down on his punches and just getting people out of there. That's how he rose to stardom. He seems like he's found himself again. A lot of people are saying within 6. How do you analyse this fight?
I was wrong about Dubois in his last fight. I thought he was going to lose against Hrgovic, but this fight, I believe AJ is going to win within the first 6 rounds. We'll see. We'll see if I'm right or wrong, and we'll see if George is right or wrong.
What do you make of the improvements?
Yeah, I think he's found a trainer that he gels with, and they've done some great work together, and you could see that in the fights. And it's similar to me finding George and finding Andy, and now have this great team. So when you find a team that works for you, and who want nothing but the best for you, and who know what they're doing, you're going to be the best in the world.
Boxing's a funny sport in that if someone had told you in a scenario, I don't know, sometime in 2020 that Ben Davison would have ended up with Anthony Joshua when he was so monumental in Tyson Fury's comeback story, you would have laughed as such. You would have spent time around Ben in being with Tyson Fury. What do you make of him as a coach? And was it weird when you first saw that dynamic come together or not really?
I think you never know what's going to happen and who's going to gel and who's going to work together. And but Ben is very technical, and he breaks things down, and he does a lot of sort of video work and breaking analysis and breaking it all down. So I think that, and probably that's what's been working for Joshua and his team. And like they've got some great results. They had Otto Wallen, and then they had Francis Ngannou. Now this is another test to see if that partnership is still growing and still developing.
When I spoke to Anthony Joshua about sort of people that he still wants to fight, because other than really Daniel Dubois Saturday night, Tyson Fury, he's been in there with most of them. We never got the Deontay Wilder fight. It seems like that's a bit done now, to be honest, given where Deontay's at in his career. Interesting, he speaks very highly of you and likes to entertain the thought of a rematch. It's probably not, if we're realistic, in the next 18 months or 12 months as such, because we'll wait to see what happens on December the 21st. But for a man like that to admire what you've done over the last sort of couple of years or so, you'd be chomping to get that rematch with Anthony Joshua.
I've been working away and working very hard, and I'd love to have the rematch. I know everyone else wants to fight Anthony Joshua because he's the draw, but I would love to have that rematch with Anthony Joshua one day.
Do you ever look back and almost like regret the way that you sort of attacked that fight?
I don't have any regrets. No. Different fights, different performances, different ways of training for that fight. But like now, with me standing here now, I feel like I'll beat everyone there is in the division. But I just need to be given that opportunity and given those fights.
We saw Oleksandr Usyk strangely arrested earlier in the week. He's now been let go. We know Tyson Fury, I think, is getting himself into good shape. You don't want to peak too early, obviously, ahead of December the 21st. How does it go? Does your man overcome adversity and avenge the only defeat he's had as a professional boxer?
Listen, it reminds me of how he beat depression, and it's one of the best comeback stories around, becoming champion of the world after what he went through. And I feel like if anyone can do it, Tyson can do it.
Do you think he will?
I know he will.
Okay, interesting. Do you feel like, I feel like a loss, me personally, I don't know Tyson anywhere near as well as you do, but in terms of what we see from the outside world, I felt like it was going to make or break him in a weird way.
Yeah.
I.e., like, we always maybe saw him as this unbeaten champion as such, and do you think the adversity that he's had to overcome as such, and AJ would have experienced with the British public, you lose and all of a sudden you're shit and people want to give you the middle finger and that. Do you think that almost, what the loss has probably been good for him in a weird way?
I'm not saying a loss is never good for you. Like, you always wanted to go into fights to win. But when you have a loss, it will give you extra drive and be like, because there's a lot of doubters. And like you say, when you lose a fight, you were never that good anyways. I got the same thing as well. And now that I've had a few wins, now he's back on track. So you just got to accept the negativity, the positivity, and just focus on what you want to do.
Don't believe in the bullshit, basically.
Don't believe in all that, the hype or the negative. Just be yourself and enjoy the process and make the most of your opportunity.
And can we expect the big man out next?
I'm waiting for a fight. I'm keen to fight anyone.
Have you had conversations, opponents that have been proposed to you, dates that have been proposed as such?
Hopefully December 21.
Okay.
And there is Zhang, but I've already beaten him. There's AJ Caballero.
I was going to say that Caballero fight.
The winner of this fight would be awesome, Joshua and Dubois, but I'm sure there's other plans for everyone else. So whatever the plan is, just lock me in the fight and I'm there.
Just lastly from me, because I'm keen to get some seafood as well as you are. Don Charles has been a big talking point all week. Now, we know that he is still with Daniel Dubois. As a fighter, I'm going to ask you this. if you didn't have your coach with you on the week, now we know this is because of illness, and the best thing you can do if you've got a flu or something is put yourself away from the fighter. But if you didn't have Andy Lee with you, we're hearing Don Charles will be there on Fight Night. If you didn't have Andy Lee with you throughout the week, would it affect you? And does it change the way that Daniel will be going into Fight Night?
Every fighter is different. And if I look at myself, you want your coach there and you want your team there, but if they're not there, you can't help it. The fight's there and the fight's a fight. And you're the one that's in the ring to fight. So for me, if Daniel doesn't have Don Charles with him this week, I think he has to find it within himself to be ready for the fight, no matter what comes up or no matter what happens on fight week.
Joe Parker, thank you very much for your time. Final message to the fans.
I'll be back very soon. And guess what? It's going to be incredible.